it comes to ghosty experiences, I've had a few in my time. The first was at an old theater where I cut my teeth as a scare actor, and the most recent was at a theme park that I visited. Heck, whenever I visit my good buddy Mysterio on the Mind Reader's home, something or someone is always making themselves known. It's just a way of life at this point. So question for you. Do you consider yourself a skeptic or a believer? Let me know in the comments and let's discuss some haunted places together, shall we? How about we start off today with a famous ghost ship? Specifically speaking, the Queen Mary, located in Long Beach, California. Aside from a brief stint as a warship back in World War II, this place has served as a luxury ocean liner from 1936 to 1967, and during that time it was the site of at least one death, but a lot of folks believe that more went unreported. There have been numerous sightings by tourists who have seen various apparitions and events that generally could not have taken place in a ship that has been defunct for over 40 years. There have been reports of over 150 ghosts on the Queen Mary ship, and going by the regularity and the sightings of these paranormal beings, there seems to be a lot of truth in them. People seem to have experienced drastic temperature changes when they entered certain parts of the ship, such as near the second-class pool, the haunted stateroom, the shaft alley, and the adjacent bathroom. The stateroom is said to smell of cigars and perfume. Another weird phenomenon is the creaking of doors, knocks, sudden squeals, laughter, sounds of people talking, whistling in an empty room, you know, all the usual ghosty things. As in every ghosty story, while there have been sightings and hearings of lights being switched off and on, and laughter coming from a room, in the case of the Queen Mary ship, there have been other incidents as well, which have been noted as being out of the ordinary. A sighting of a crewman in blue overalls whose face is bearded is a regular apparition. Now this ghost's appearance refers to the well-known incident in the Queen Mary ship where a fireman was killed by getting crushed underneath a watertight door during a regular fire drill. This apparition is of the same crew member who was killed and now haunts the doorway, which was responsible for his death in the first place. The appearance of wet footprints on the floor near the first-class swimming pool when no swimming activity can be possible in the first place is also a spooky happening that tourists have mentioned quite often. Apart from these two events, young voices crying and laughing in the third-class playroom nursery and the sighting of a young girl who sadly died in the second-class swimming pool have also been reported. When visiting an area that was once used as a dressing room for entertainment shows, one guest immediately felt like they were going to faint and that their battery, like their energy levels had drained. Later in that tour, the guide mentioned that was kind of common for that room. Excuse me? The city of Long Beach purchased the ship in 1967 and turned it into a hotel, and it still serves that purpose today. Although the reported ghosts of the deceased passengers get to stay for free. By the way, for an extra dose of spine-tingling experiences, see if you can visit the ship's engine room, which is considered to be a hotbed. Swell. Alrighty folks, next up we have a Canadian ghosty location, good old Julie's Harbour. In Newfoundland and Labrador, among the welcoming people and hospitality the region is known for, you can also find stories of the paranormal. One such tale centers on this harbour, a resettled community near Triton. According to skipper Mike Roberts of Badger Bay Boat Tours, the community is home to something not of this world. And as Newfoundland and Labrador tourism eerily puts it, the only way to get there is by boat, snowmobile, or ATV, which means it's also the only way to leave if you encounter something spooky. Standing in that resettled community, you can listen to the nothingness. The silence is profound. Julie's Harbour used to be known as St. Augustine's back in the 1800s, and this is when the earliest haunted tales begin. According to the Tourism Center, Julie's Harbour is named after a woman who drowned in what is now known as Julie's Harbour Pond. Well, how she died, other than drowning, isn't known. It's said that her spirit has been felt in the area ever since her death. Now, after her death, the town was renamed, and her spirit's been just hanging out, which is why I'm very careful about knowing where I want to pass. When you arrive in Julie's Harbour under a bright blue sky, at first glance it looks like your ideal getaway. It's in a secluded part of Badger Bay, and it has a beach with a lot of space to pitch a tent. But as you hike into the woods, out of nowhere you see a headstone, then another, then another. These are the headstones of entire families, and suddenly the quiet that was once pristine and welcoming kind of turns eerie and bone-chilling. This graveyard is the only thing that's left of the original settlement, dating back to the 1800s. Visitors to the harbor have recounted bone-chilling tales of hearing sounds of laughter, despite being alone, and hearing young voices calling from the woods. During one visit, a man was in his cabin alone when he heard the sounds of young people laughing, and the laughter grew so loud and lasted so long it drove him from his cabin. And he's not the only one to hear the laughter. A group of kayakers reportedly set up camp in Julie's Harbour years ago, only to bail out halfway through the night because they heard young voices calling from the woods. Another time, a man who camped out on the beach pulled his boat up out of the water to keep it dry and heard a ruckus down by the shore all throughout the night, and in the morning woke up to find his boat half filled with water. At the time of this next incident, there was only one house left in Julie's Harbour. A group of friends were there one night, staying up late, playing cards, having a good time. All of a sudden they heard a strange rustle, and when they looked up from their game, they saw an apparition floating through the walls. When they left the house, they never returned to Julie's Harbour. Instead, they towed the house across the harbor to Triton. Alrighty, time to go back to the States, specifically Philadelphia, to visit Fort Mifflin. Built in 1771, Fort Mifflin is the country's only Revolutionary War battlefield that is still intact. Allegedly. There are 14 restored buildings on the grounds on the Delaware River, and reportedly plenty of spirits hanging out. In an interview with CBS 3 in Philadelphia, employee Lorraine Donahue Irby said that it's definitely haunted. Doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter what part of the fort you are in, these spirits don't come on demand, but people have had experiences morning, noon, and night. The abandoned fort has sent some overnight ghost hunters running in the middle of the night. Teams have captured orbs of light floating with their camera, they've experienced glimpses of apparitions behind door frames, and recorded disembodied voices. Visitors who explore the fort often see soldiers cleaning their weapons, even when no historical actors are present. Many will catch a whiff or a mysterious aroma like bread baking or wood fire. Some visitors even claim to have been touched, pushed, and pulled by phantom hands. Among the ghosts said to haunt the fort is a screaming woman whose cries are so loud that Philadelphia police have been called to investigate, only to find nobody there. Other characters in the local ghost stories include a faceless man wandering around the fort, a tour guide dressed in revolutionary garb, and numerous young folks and dogs. The most infamous ghost of Fort Mifflin is the Faceless Man. So out of that entire list, he's the famous one. Visitors spot his apparition roaming throughout the property in Civil War attire. Many people believe the spirit belongs to William H. Howe, who was notoriously executed at the fort during the Civil War. Now, this guy isn't all super duper mean. According to former tour guides, there was once somebody there, so like an actor who was in Civil War attire with a big hoop skirt, and as she was walking down the stairs to casemate 11, she had an arm help her with her elbow going down, when there was nobody next to her, so they assume it was William. Hey look, I have worn my fair share of hoop skirt sized dresses in my time, and trust me, when I'm alone, I would have loved some ghostly assistance because hoop skirts and stairs are not fun. The name of this next play should definitely make some ears perk up, so if you've fallen asleep by now, wakey wakey. The Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast in Massachusetts. Without a doubt, the most famous haunted bed and breakfast in New England is this one. I believe it's located in Fall River to be exact. The bed and breakfast is at 232nd Street, and it's known for doors opening and closing on their own, combined with a mysterious floral scent that some say are signs of the Borden spirits. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the story, or the macabre jump rope rhyme, police accused Borden of brutally killing her father and stepmother with a hatchet in 1892. Now, she was acquitted of the killings later that year, but still. Little sus. Now at the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast Museum, visitors can tour the house or spend the night, even staying in the room where stepmother Abby Borden was killed. Guests and employees have reported all kinds of strange activity in the house, including weeping, footstep sounds, an apparition in Victorian-era clothing wandering the halls, doors opening and closing, and muffled conversations coming from vacant rooms. Believers in the paranormal claim the house is haunted by everybody. Abby and her husband, the ghosts of two young folks killed by their mother at a house next door, even Lizzie herself on a part-time basis though, because they think Lizzie also haunts Maplecroft, her post-trial house over on French Street. One review on TripAdvisor mentioned that they were told that if you leave money on the dresser, Andrew Borden, so the stepdad, he'll leave you alone at night. Some people claim to have heard noises of creaking or footsteps, unexplained laughter, and seen a ghostly face appearing on a wall in the basement. Dang. Alrighty everybody, we're gonna end today over at the Lincoln Park Zoo in Chicago, Illinois. To quote one of my all-time favorite films, lions and tigers and ghosts? As it turns out, one of Chicago's most popular attractions is also one of its most haunted, with much more than just chimpanzees roaming the grounds. From the 1840s to 50s, the heart of Lincoln Park served as the city's cemetery, housing some 35,000 bodies. Now the cemetery was short-lived. Established in 1843, a cholera scare caused residents to fear that the burial of victims would spread the disease to the nearby water supply. Now the cemetery was eventually moved due to its proximity to said water supply, and most of the bodies, but not all of them, were moved along with it. The long process came to a shocking halt when on the night of October 8th of 1871, high winds blew flaming debris from a south side inferno across the river. The Great Chicago Fire, sweeping swiftly northward, pushed north side residents to flee into the cemetery grounds, and eventually into the waters off of North Avenue Beach. The cemetery was almost completely destroyed in the Great Fire. Headboards, the wooden markers which designated most burials of the day, were reduced to ash by the fire, rendering plot after plot impossible to identify. Now, with no way to identify where the burials remained, the city simply continued its plans to create a lakefront park, and Chicago moved on. But apparently not all the dead did. Artist and scholar Pamela Banos, after years of painstaking research, determined that as many as 15,000 bodies may remain in Lincoln Park today. Under the zoo, the ball fields, the grounds of the Chicago History Museum, and even the posh homes off of the Gold Coast. If you've ever seen a horror movie, you know that messing with burial grounds is the easiest way to get haunted, and this zoo is no exception. As if walking above several thousand corpses isn't creepy enough, famed parapsychologist Ursula Bielski once called the area, in its current state, without a doubt the most active site she's ever investigated, and people reported seeing ghosts there since it opened around 150 years ago. Without a doubt, one of the most legendary of Lincoln Park's ghosts is that of the late John Dillinger, the swashbuckling bank robber who in 1934 wreaked havoc for months across 3 states before being, well, taken down in the alleyway just south of the Biograph Theater. They say that you can sometimes still see his bluish form stumbling and falling on the pavement, or feel the icy chill of his spirit move through your own body there. But also, because it's a zoo, no animal ghosts have been spotted yet, so I guess they all made it to heaven. And that brings us to the end of our time once again. I've been Alexa, your resident ookie spooky girly, and if you enjoyed my ramblings today, could you help us out by giving this video a like, subscribing if you aren't already, hit the bell for more ghostly chatter from us here at Top 5 Scary Videos, and I'll see y'all next time, you lovely spooky people.